Welcome and thank you for clicking on my video. Today we are going to be talking about how you may want to start thinking about this dip and how some people might be buying it, because this over here led to a rug pull, and I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this here and say it's exactly the same and there's going to be some kind of rug pull. The only problem is this right here is very, very different from what was going on over in this area. And the first thing that was different here was when we were in this area, we were saying, hey, this is outside of a daily expected move, so we have to pay attention to it. And we could see a rug pull. Why? Because the dollar was heading up while this was heading up, and this had a high call ratio at the time. So the put call ratio was lower in this area, saying people were really starting to go to the call side at this level, and then the rug gets pulled. So we benefited from that, but a lot of people saying the same things up here. The only difference is if we go up to that put call ratio as of right now, everyone is trying to call that rug pull this time. Last time we were down in this area and then we saw the rug pull. This time we are not dedicated down. We are not down towards that call side. We're actually in the opposite direction. So most people calling a crash when I'm seeing some basing out signals from a lot of stocks. One of those stocks being Nvidia. Nvidia showing us the 30-minute divergence here that has played out to the upside and was able to go positive. And so this is something that we're going to go over in a little bit, because this has a triple divergence on the 2-hour, which can turn up the daily chart. And that means we may need to keep in mind some swing trade ability. Okay, so let's get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta, looking at GME and AMC as well, paying attention to volatility as that starts to subside. For now, we have to give you those daily expected moves for tomorrow. We do see those as the red lines on your chart for Friday. We're giving out all the expected moves on my Patreon down in the description for the stocks that we're covering in this video and some more. So 538.85 to the upside, and we do have 522.45 to the downside. Now for today, we were able to consolidate right above that. We kind of wicked down to it plenty of times, showing some support. If you want to see that on the 30-minute real quick, we can see all these wicks. That is right. This wick right here is right where it was. This wick here, this wick here. We got 3 tests of that daily level, and now we have some new daily levels, so we can pay attention to those. This is our 68% zone. You land in here 68% of the time. So if we see some kind of sporadic move up, okay, then we have a 68% chance to land down. But we were talking about early on in the live video this morning how today it felt like, hey, we were a little bit more likely to actually end up outside of that range, because we've been inside of it a few times over this week. And so landing outside of it would make sense, because Nvidia does have that basing out signal and people are trying to call another rug pull. And that's exactly what those evil little market maker algorithms want you to do, is try to guess that there's going to be a rug pull, and then boom, it heads to the upside. So we could be getting a gap up, a gap down. It doesn't mean we don't want to pay attention to further downside. We still can see downside, but as of right now, you're positive in positive territory on the 30-minute. If that crosses over, that's going to be a bad thing. See that daily expected move. Maybe we need to dip down and find some buyers and then turn to the upside. We'll pay attention to it. Maybe some kind of little cup and handle thing happening here, so we'll pay attention for now, but I just wanted to show you that as positive. Now the 2-hour still has some work to do. So this is the scenario here, and I think before I talk about this, I want to switch over to a daily chart and just show you guys that we're seeing some upward price action. If this does cross on this MACD, if this gets above the center line and this gets above this moving average, the 9-day moving average here, we can start to head up from this level, and you might even see a short squeeze. So I would really pay attention to that as people are piling on the shorts in this area, and we're heading into a Friday. Maybe that, proves to be something, but for now, if we're not going to see this actually cross, we're going to need some rejection, and that would be on a 2-hour chart as I see it right now. So where that would actually take place, well, we talked about this area right here. Happens to be where that daily expected move is. This is exactly what we said down at these levels when we did curl up on that 30-minute. We said, hey, the most likely thing is maybe we're going to come and test this area up here, as long as people don't try to go to the call side, and that's exactly what happened. So I would be looking for that reaction up, and then from here it really depends if we're going to pile up and head higher. The overall view, or the bullish case here, I believe would be a reaction up to this level up here towards 550. We kind of see that create some kind of right shoulder. Okay, that would be the bullish scenario. The bearish scenario is we come up to this level, everyone gets into calls, and then that is given up by the end of the day, or maybe on Monday we just see that rug pulled, and then we're creating a stronger base on the 2-hour. So right now you have a pretty strong base on the 30-minute with the higher low. But if there's more work to be done, that might need to curl down one more time for that 2-hour divergence. I want you to be aware of it. But for now, everything is positive. And if that daily crosses up, we could see the swing trade. You're seeing the same thing over on the Qs. You see if that curls up, hey, that can still go positive from this area. Now, as it is deeper into negative territory, we have to say, hey, a little bit more likely to make a lower high from this, but the area we were saying to pay attention to for a big reaction after we did see that curl up on the 30-minute here, we said this area right here, and what's at that level? Oh, a daily expected move. Okay, so our daily expected moves for tomorrow for the Qs, we do have 457.17 to the upside, and we have 438.97 to the downside. So we'll see what happens with this, but this area is going to be important, I think, tomorrow. Now, if that does drop off, even though there are people calling a rug pull, and this is completely different than the last time, we still need to pay attention to what our MACD, what our momentum is telling us. If that momentum does cross down, it is still close enough to negative territory to see a solid move down. That is where we would pay attention to the downside expected move, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm more leaning towards actually some upside because of how that put call ratio looks. And then I'll be looking at this over the next few days, and we'll talk about it a little further on Saturday, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll talk about whether or not this type of move is going to actually prove to be some kind of move to the downside to create that stronger base. But if this is a strong enough base, hey, that would make sense. You got a low, you got a higher low. Now you just need to break through this, make the high, make another higher low, and then you're off to the races in some positive trend. So let's pay attention here, because while everyone out there on YouTube is calling out crash, 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 still gonna have a rug pull, they might not be paying attention to what's actually happening right here. They're just saying it could happen like last time. And it definitely could, but we're not seeing the same things that we saw over here, and I want you to be aware of that, okay? So we will talk about this, the macro side on Saturday, so make sure you're subscribed for this, but make sure to have these levels on your chart when tomorrow does come to fruition, right, in the morning. So join us for that live video. Apple, this one here was a little bit worrisome towards the end of the day, and I was like, dang, this thing does not want to cross over on this MACD. We're getting tight in this area, so we need to pay attention to that. Now, where would we see that reaction? Well, we're gonna have daily expected moves, and I'm just guessing that that daily expected move is gonna be somewhere around that 216 level, because this level is very important. We look like we are rejecting as of right now. Maybe we break out. As you can see, we have some big swings that get smaller and smaller and smaller. We're getting price tight, which means a big move is coming, because you go from, expansion to really contraction. You really do. You'll see these big moves, then you'll contract for a while, then you'll see another big move in some direction. So pay attention to this. It rejected at the end of the day. We have to see if that is able to break through, maybe see an upside move here for Apple. We'll pay attention, but if that does roll over, hey, we got to start to change our tone a bit. As of right now, 30-minute positive in positive territory. I believe that the 30-minute is the most important thing to watch in this area for Apple. Tesla, looking at this again, what are we seeing here? Okay, here we see the divergence. So Tesla was one of the reasons. Tesla and Nvidia are the reason why I think this actually could be a potential bottom. Whether this bottom leads to a lower high or all-time highs, we'll see. I'm kind of thinking it leads to all-time highs, to give you my honest opinion, but we'll pay attention to that. So far, Tesla gave us the divergence, reacted up, started to consolidate, and now we'll have to see if this is able to go up as it's just going into positive territory. So this one doesn't look as good as some of the other ones, even as Apple or possibly even Nvidia. It doesn't look as good as that because it's still really, really, really close to that center line. So if you just get a curl over here, hey, you can test the low, go make a new one. Maybe we create another point of divergence, but overall, the way I treat this is if this crosses over, I'm just going to say, hey, that's really, really, really bad. And then if it turns back up, I'll go, ooh, I'm surprised, but hey, there's a triple divergence now. So that's what I'd be paying attention to for Tesla. Once again, Patreon link down in the description if you want the daily expected moves for Tesla. I'll be posting them right after this video, but that's really the important thing to pay attention to here. Other thing is the 2 hour, we don't necessarily have the best divergence for Tesla. So Tesla is still leaning towards, hey, we could see that next turn down to really create that strong base. But if this wants to go off to the races, right? If this wants to go up to the rate off to the races, because this thing could go positive, well, the swing trade might be there on the daily scale, and I think you need to be aware of that, because this is a little bit stronger base than people are giving it credit for with those 30-minute signals. In this 2 hour, it's still negative. It's mainly just saying, hey, we're bouncing for now. Once that goes positive, we'll change our tone, but for now, we could head up to this area, maybe see a rejection. So we'll pay attention closely live tomorrow with you guys to see what's happening, and we will be doing a closing stream. stream tomorrow, all right? For Amazon, this one doing the same thing, but looking a little bit more flaggy than the others, I would say. Now on the 30-minute, we can pay attention to this. It is positive in positive territory. Sorry, I just clicked on that. It is positive in positive territory, but we're struggling to break through that 166.12 level that we've said was important for a while. Notice we gap down below that level. We react up to it, reject, we react up to it, and now we got to make a decision. But the longer we hang out in this area, if we can compile up and just break through, you can see a pretty strong move. 174.51 could be a level to pay attention to, but the daily expected moves will be over on Patreon. So from here, what do we just want to see? Well, we see kind of an area where we broke down. We react up to that area, maybe filling a cup, getting a small handle here, and then let's see if we can go off to the races. Right now, positive in positive territory. If that turns down, bad things, right? If that continues to the upside, hey, good things. You're in positive territory. This little mini positive trend might continue here for Amazon. Amazon, not the best look in the world, though, I would say. I think there's easier trade setups out there, and one of those is Nvidia. Nvidia gave a fantastic signal. This is a trade I am still in at this moment. We see the downward price action. We see the kind of evening out here that gives you that big divergence across here. Very, very significant between these lows. And you even have it with this point way over here. If you kind of go straight across and then up, and then we see down here on the MACD, what do we notice? Hey, it's upside for some divergence down there on the RSI. So we have MACD divergence, we have RSI divergence, and we're starting to see this, turn up. That can turn up 2-hour charts. Boom. 2-hour chart. Well, you look at this and you go, oh, now there's divergences on a 2-hour as well. Very, very significant here. So this could be a big move, and we could head all the way up into this zone up here. Okay, so we'll be paying attention to this closely, but you are, as of right now, bouncing. Until you get to positive territory, you're not really in the clear. But I just wanted you to be aware of the good signals here, because I think a lot of people are still calling crash, and I'm just like, I'm not seeing it at this moment. Things really have to turn down for me to start talking crash again. Right now, it looks like we're trying to form a bottom, and we actually might head higher. And if we confirm swing trade signals and keep going up, we can actually go to all-time highs. But we'll pay attention to make sure things aren't rolling over for a lower high for you. In this moment, though, 2-hour curling up. So we'll see if some positivity comes. We're still in this channel overall. So I'll be paying attention around this area. Make sure to get those daily expected moves on your chart for tomorrow if you're part of the Patreon, because we'll be talking about them live tomorrow morning. As we look forward into AMD, now this one here showing a bunch of divergence as well. Now AMD, it's been, really bad for a long time. Anytime it really bases out, it looks awful. So it's very hard to trade in my opinion. So I'm not trading this one just because it looks more difficult. Why would I trade something that looks more difficult than an easier signal happening on Nvidia, which is more of a love stock by these market makers and the overall, I would say, elite who want to keep the market higher? Well, then Nvidia is showing me a clear signal, so maybe I go with that one. But overall, this is good because you're very close to positive territory. So can AMD see a good reaction? Yes, it can. It's been beat up for a long time, but that's what I'd be paying attention to. The 30-minute chart is going to have a bunch of divergences, but that's a bunch of chop at this point. You really just want to see that 2-hour going positive might be the signal to pay attention to for AMD. Looking over at Meta, a little bit different take to this one. Good earnings, pulled back down, now we curled up. So a lot of people ask me, what do I do with earnings? I don't usually trade around them because it's a 50-50 flip. I have no clue what data they're going to put out. And so I don't want to think, oh, this is going to go higher because of the signals. Well, in that case, you just say, hey, momentum's dead. You can see a big move. Momentum's tight. You can see a big move. But when earnings are coming out, that really could be dependent on, hey, do they say something good or do they say something bad? And here it looks like something good was happening. What do I do with earnings after that? Well, then I just wait for the signal to turn up, and boom, this is where you more likely would have a better opportunity, a safer, less risky opportunity for a trade to the upside. And you see that curl down again, and now we've curled back up. So as of right now, for Meta, positive and positive territory, I'd pay attention, as this is kind of doing some kind of cup and handle, but that also could create some kind of double top. So pay attention if any of these charts that we're looking at today end up rolling over on the 30-minute chart. That's really what I would be paying attention to in the morning, and I'll be live so we can all watch it together. As we look forward into AMC and GME, you're looking at similar things once again. Now, the key thing with AMC and GME is every single Friday, if you see a big move, that usually ends up back down around $5 by the end of the day. That's something to note. So positive and positive territory, if that curls down, hey, negative territory can be right there. So this would mean downtrend for the time being. kind of some sideways price action, a few blips in here and there, but for the most part, just staying in an overall big range, I would say. So we'll see what's going to happen with these from now on. The main signal to pay attention to for AMC is going to be if the daily scale is able to turn up. It's very, very close to negative territory, but it's right by that center line. For the pullback, you're very tight on these Bollinger Bands, and you're right by that 200. So my belief is if you get a close above that 200, this thing could be off to the races. And I think if that happens soon, that's when we'll start to a little bit be talking about a lower high in the market if we're not going to see some kind of grand squeeze there. But really paying attention to this, a closing above the 200 would be enough to curl up this MACD right here. So I'm paying attention very closely, and we will see if something happens with that. The level to pay attention to for the week, 573. You get above that, something crazy can happen, but we're going into Friday, so we will update this for you on Sunday. Make sure you're subscribed. GME, you need the same thing, right? You still need to curl up. Now it looks a little bit more negative than AMC. It's a little bit deeper down here, but the only other thing that it has that AMC doesn't is it's above its 200. So if that does cross up, you still have the potential, if you get above these moving averages, for a good move. And that's something to pay attention to. Now looking at the short time frame, the 30-minute here, I just want you to notice that the MACD is up in higher levels. So even if that does curl down, that still could just be a pullback in order to curl back up over time. That's something to pay attention to here. It is more positive in this area. If that does curl down, we still treat it as bad. We just say pullback, pullback. That crosses the center line. We go, this might be more than a pullback. This could just keep going down over time, waiting for that to curl back up into positive territory. But as this is positive in positive territory, you can see an upward move tomorrow. I want you to pay attention to that, but just know as options are expiring on Fridays, most of the time these stocks get beat up on Fridays. Just most of the time they really do. It's like 90% of the time they end up down at lower levels on Friday for that expiration. So probably some funny business happening here. Now for volatility, a lot of people waiting and waiting and waiting, seeing if this 30-minute is going to curl up. This is why you don't necessarily want to take anything too early, because we did see a move up during the day that kind of showed me like, hey, I wasn't live when this happened, but I did see it. And I just go, ooh, that could be a turn up of the MACD. Let me wait to see if that crosses. Never crossed, right? Never crossed down here on the MACD. So still heading down at this point. We'll pay attention if things are starting to curl up on a 2-hour. I think that's the important signal to pay attention to tomorrow, seeing if volatility can turn up on a 2-hour. But for now, that thing is starting to reject and head down. So if anything, it's saying I'm low on the center line, below the center line on the RSI, I'm below the center line on the MACD. All of this is saying, hey, negativity will be here for volatility, which means most likely positivity for the market. You want to see a short squeeze signal? Okay, that's going to be if the daily is able to cross soon. If that crosses, you are confirmed that you are most likely in. It's very, very highly probable that by the time this crosses, you're already in a short squeeze. So the main thing to look at here for volatility is the fact that the 50 has crossed the 200. So this would be kind of in the market. We're going to talk about this on Saturday. The lower high scenario would be if volatility reacts down to that 50 and is able to use it as support to then head higher. That will be the big thing to pay attention to for the lower high scenario, in my opinion. If we start to break down below the 200 and the 50, well, we could just leak down towards 1212 again and see more short squeezing, and most likely that would lead you to some kind of all-time high. So pay attention because volatility is coming off. This is definitely different than last time, right? Because of the 30-minute, we see here on the put call ratio, the fact that it's a lot different than last time. Last time the rug pull happened, we called that because people were really overzealous to the call side. Now everyone is trying to call rug pull, so I'd be careful with that. But we still know we pay attention to both sides. So I guess the main takeaway here is we're still trading like water. This isn't an environment where we're trying to create a bottom. It looks like we may have created structure for a bottom. That's why we're paying attention closely. While everyone's saying crash, you need to just pay attention to your signals. If these puts are coming in for a reason and we're going to see downside, these MACDs are going to roll over. We are going to see it in the momentum. So pay attention. We could see a gap up, gap down tomorrow. We'll pay attention to that. But I think next week will really be telling, are we going to see a full-on short squeeze to go to all-time highs, or are we just going to see more rip-around rally type stuff? So we'll pay attention to it for you. We'll see you live tomorrow morning, and I hope you guys have all the luck in the world with your trades going on into tomorrow, and I can't wait to look at some stocks with you guys live tomorrow morning. Talk to you guys later. Peace.